Yeah, now we are.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Founders Speak. My name is Reggie, and today we have the lovely Chardonay. And we will be talking about Black patriarchy, which I'm weirdly excited to talk about. Like, you'll never hear me say, I'm excited to talk about the patriarchy. But I am excited, especially now, because I think it's so necessary. Um, Maybe not excited. Excited sounds like I enjoy like talking about this. Eager. I'm eager because this is a necessary conversation and we need to start talking about the ways that patriarchy has always existed within our community, but especially the ways that it has become more violent under colonization. Just increasingly and increasingly and increasingly violent. Um, but yeah, um, Chardonnay, what do you have to say about the subject before we like just hop into it?
Yeah. I just I just think it's really important to distinguish the difference between Black patriarchy here in the Americas, or really in all of the diaspora. But I only know about America because I'm here, and Black patriarchy in Africa, because the two are equally oppressive. The two are equally inherently violent. However, American patriarchy has that American genocidal touch to
Mm-hmm. It's
it.
just like it's got that extra spice to it. Like it's
Sprinkle a little bit of genocide in there.
right. Like yes, patriarchy is inherently violent, but the way patriarchy is employed within Black communities in the United States is extra violent. It's like violent square. Because you have your normal patriarchal violence, and then American culture is a culture of violence. So you add the American culture, it just compounds on the violence, where not only is it violent, but it's widely acceptable violence. Like just it's like
Widely
you
accepted.
can't get away with hitting a Black femme the way you can get away with it in the United States. Anywhere else, like somebody might not say something, but they'll look at you funny. Here, they'll just look the other way. They'll be like, "Oh, it's just another Wednesday."
They might put it on World Star,
World Star, we
Facebook Live
glorify it. We glorify it.
turn it into a joke, like Meg the Stallion got shot and is traumatized, and people are making memes about it, like she's
Not,
not a whole real ass person.
wait, not even shot, but shot by like the way she was talking about it, shot by somebody she trusted.
Right, right. I didn't want to say that because I wasn't sure, but that's what I was assuming.
Like if you read the status, it's like somebody like she's like be like I learned a valuable lesson about the company that you keep.
Mm.
So
Some
it's
of these
just
people
like,
are.
I don't know. I don't personally don't know who shot her. I don't know what happened, but I know that it was something that Meg was not expecting from the person who shot her.
Mm.
And it be your own people. And like that's the kind of thing, like the fact that people can joke about that,
Right.
like that's wild. Andy Jones says hello.
Oh.
David Jones says peace and blessings, poets. Thank you. Hello to both of you. Thank you for tuning in.
Hello.
Um, but yeah, I think now that we like have kind of gone over what like I guess we should define what Black patriarchy is. Um, I don't think it's a specific like, oh, I don't think it's fair enough to say it's the Black brand of patriarchy. Um, because I don't think that there's any like specific racial brand of patriarchy. Um, I think Black patriarchy, like simply put, is the way that patriarchal power structures are employed within Black communities. Um, these power structures exist across across race, across cultures, across class. But the way that it is employed within specific communities, especially the Black community, is specific and unique. Just given like both the history of why it's been used in the way it has been used in the United States, and also the specifics of how, because of us, it's wild because there's this patriarchal power structure, but there is a matriarchal family structure.
Mm-hmm.
and it and it creates this really interesting dynamic of like, it's really easy to say that it becomes really easy to deny patriarchy within Black communities because, oh, your mama was always in charge, or your
Mm-hmm.
grandmama was always in charge and was the only one around, but now you out here calling her a bitch. So it's like,
Can we
it's
talk about that?
well,
Can
we
we
can,
talk
let's
about
talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's first talk about how all of your mamas is Black.
right? Can we talk about the fact that you never hear men of like mass amounts of men of other races saying, fuck all of the women of their race and totally demonizing the women of their race.
It's
Like,
the
I'm
exact opposite.
because da 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 da. Like, that's your mother.
In
Um,
every other culture, it is the only other race that you are like that you are allowed to celebrate is white. It's, you're either dating us or you're dating some white bitch, but anybody else is a problem. And we have the exact opposite when it comes to Black men. It is, you either fuck everybody else, you fuck everybody else, but Black women aren't worthy. And it's like, that's your mama, that's your sister. It's like, it's like, and like, to sit up there and have this mentality like white girls do it better, or Black women are so angry, Black women are undateable, and then to be mad that white men are dating the women you won't date.
right. I
It's
think there are too many Black men who simultaneously are dating a non-Black woman and are also mad at every Black woman who dates a non-Black or specifically a white man. And I'm like, but you got a white girl.
right. And we need to talk about the dynamics of like interracial relationships between femmes and masked individuals within the Black community. The interracial relationships with masked individuals in the Black community oftentimes is a result of self-hate. It's, I don't like these Black bitches, so let me go out and get somebody else.
Or
Now,
I
like,
don't want no Black kids. Or
right. But
you
like,
know what I'm gonna do if my daughter's Black.
right. But like, honestly, like when I talk to a lot of Black femmes about the reasons why they are dating white men, it's usually because these niggas don't want to date me. These niggas
These
don't fuck with
niggas
me. These
don't
niggas
treat
treat
me
me like
right.
shit. These niggas treat me like shit, and this white man is paying for all my bills. It's like, I'm not
And
saying
they
like,
calling me on my name.
right, like it's just like there is. I think especially like, and don't get me wrong, white men are very disrespectful, but like, just in my experience, there is a level of like, there's almost a level of comfort because a white man's going to be disrespectful.
Mm.
It's an expectation. Whereas, like, I don't know why, but there's always like this sense of hope when I am dating specifically a cis Black man. There's always this sense of hope, like, maybe this is like, Black people are good. Black people are lit. Black people don't treat other Black people like shit. Um, and it's like, um, I can't shake that idea no matter how much history has told me that Black men treat Black femmes like shit.
Right.
There's
Like,
always the back of me that's like, but that's just like individual experiences. We all know Black people are like, can do no wrong.
and you really want to believe that. You
Right.
really want to hope that no, there's no way this is the majority of Black men. And then you're getting harassed by a black man on the street while by a black man on the street while other black men around don't even acknowledge the fact that you're yelling, you're a creep, stop following me, I'm trying to walk home.
Right.
um
Like that's like it's wild. Like when
oh,
a
when you
black man disrespects me from a place of patriarchy, my most honest response is always like, "Word, you're gonna fucking do me like that?" When a white man disrespects me from a place of patriarchy, I'm just like, "Damn, you about 5 minutes late on that one.
right.
You off schedule." Like it's almost like like it was for white men, it's a matter of time for me. Um,
Mm,
for black men, it's always a shock, even though I consciously know how ingrained patriarchy is within our culture. So it's like it's this dichotomy of like not wanting to be. I want wholeheartedly to be able to trust my people.
right.
I
But at the
like
same time, when I found Rich Oak walking through those doors, I felt safe because I saw someone who clearly outside of the gender binary spectrum and was like, yes, this is a place where I'm assuming the black men I see here are trustworthy
right
because
because
of
they would
space.
get their ass whooped. To be honest, um, to be honest,
Like growing up, I I was really shielded from the reality of black patriarchy on a mass societal cultural level because in my immediate family growing up, I had some cousins who were trash. Uh,
but also like cousins are
they
low
were
key trash, so
trash.
you can
We all
just
got some cousins who were trash.
right.
Um,
Cousins are also like low key trash, so you could just be like, well, my cousins are just trash. Everybody got trash cousins.
right, right. But then my brother was like a really what was just like all of the things I would assume about all black men is because that's how my brother is. Like, of course, no black man is about to let a femme be harassed. You know, all of these really common sense things for femmes was I was really shielded from. And so to go into the world and see the reality of these niggas really, not only are these niggas ain't shit, but they do not give a fuck what happens to us and will laugh at our pain.
You know what's like wild for me is that I had a direct opposite experience, except I got um um somebody said would like to point out that half the viewers dropped when you started calling some of your cousins trash. Because some of our cousins are trash. Like there are
Mhm.
trash people in every family. Like live with it.
If you
But
don't have a trash cousin, you probably are the trash cousin. I'm
ooh,
sorry.
ooh,
I'm not sorry, but
right, like, or you
maybe you
have an
haven't
extremely
met the
small
trash
family.
or you have a really small family.
Right.
Um,
I come from a big family, so like not everybody in my family
right.
is presentable. But
We
like
have
my experience with black men has been like largely like very like in the context. It's funny because like you're dating this nigga, my brother.
right.
Um and like I don't mean to bust him out, but like dealing with Colin as a queer black person was a whole fucking journey. And like I'm going to like be the first one to tell you he was absolute trash. My brother was the my introduction to black men are trash to black femmes. My brother was also the introduction of it is very easy for a black man to correct himself because he did it over the course of 3 months. So like it's one of those situations where it's like it's legitimately like part of my frustration is not that it's happening, but that it I have seen how easy it is for it to stop. And I have seen how beautiful the relationship between Black femmes and Black men can be when you heal that rift. And I'm just like, I'm pissed because like I'm sitting up here telling you it's possible. This is how we'll do it, and this is how a relationship will thrive. Because and niggas are like, it's not worth it. It's too much work. You'll get your turn to get right, and I'm just like, first of all, if I don't get my turn to get right, nobody's getting their turn to get right. If Black men don't get right, if
Black femmes are always pushed to the back. That's why we still asking. Or
right,
I'm sorry, that's why we stopped asking. That's what.
woo, let's talk about that.
But
Let's talk about that. The ways in which Black femmes have been gaslighted into just like you let's be honest. Let's be honest. It was a lot easier to fight for Black femmes at the beginning of June than it was by the end. It was a lot easier for me to say fight for Black femmes, fight for Black femmes, but by the end of the month, like you got 30 days of not being listened to, and now people want to shut the fuck up.
Right, like
it's like, why am I wasting my breath asking for somebody to fight for my rights? Like, why am I spending my time asking for somebody to fight for my rights? Like, it makes more sense to just do it by my damn self.
right. And that's exactly why you have so many Black femmes disconnecting from pretty much every social movement one at a time. Like, we can't be feminists because they don't really fuck with us.
Mm-hmm.
They're really quick to push us to the back to get what they want. Black men, same thing. They don't really fuck with us and are really quick to push us to the back to get what they want. The LGBTQ plus community, same thing. It just extends.
But you want to know why that happens? Because of the patriarchy. Because everybody is not like, honestly, all of these movements that are trying to push Black femmes and Black women issues to the back are the movements that are not trying to create equality or equity or liberation. These are movements that are trying to get the same power as white men.
Let's talk about it.
We do not, as oppressed people, need the same amount of power to oppress as white men. We need the destruction of the power.
Period.
It's not, we're not being liberated from white men. We are not being liberated from racism. We are being liberated from systems of injustice. That includes the ones that we replicate on our quest for power. We do not need, like, I almost want to eliminate the need, like, there's no need for Black power if we already have Black liberation. Because liberation means we are outside these power structures. There's no need for us to be strong.
And can we talk about that?
Yes.
Because when we talk about Black people being strong, can we acknowledge that we really mean Black femmes are strong? Can we talk about how Black femmes are expected to do the work of all of these movements? Because Black women have done all of the work for all of these movements. And the wild part is, all it takes is to liberate Black femmes, and guess what? Everybody is liberated, because you can't liberate Black femmes without liberating everyone else.
Right, because you can't liberate Black femmes without liberating queer folks, without liberating trans folks, without liberating disabled folks, without liberating poor folks. Like, Black femmes are within every oppressed identity, whether you like it or not, whether you want to admit it. There is a Black femme that shares your identity, your oppressed identity. There is. And Um, yeah, somebody on Twitter said, please do not curse too much. While I appreciate your feedback, I do want to say that oftentimes the problem with these conversations that we are not allowed to express ourselves in a natural way. And quite frankly, I'm not stepping around anybody's feelings today. Um, it's really important that we are able, like, this is the point of Founder Speaks, is that we are able to speak openly about these issues. Oftentimes when I listen to podcasts, when we as community members and especially as community leaders and organizers, there's an expectation that we mince our words and be quote unquote professional. This is not a professional podcast or a professional space. This is a 100% real space. And in the real world, I cuss a lot. I cuss like a sailor. Um, and I believe as long as you can understand what I'm saying, and also curse words have a point. Like, I'm not like just saying cursing for no reason, you know, because like honestly saying I'm angry does not get the point across like saying I'm really fucking angry. Um, so yeah, like those are two different emotions. Being angry or being angry is two different emotions.
In agreement, and I love it.
Oh yeah. There's this tree in my neighbor's yard that houses a murder of crows, and it's great.
Oh, I love crows. That's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I want to address up here, uh, how does my relationship with Colin compare to your past relationship with Colin? Um,
Well,
and
first of all the work was done.
right. I
God damn.
will say that I want to start off by saying I'm appalled that I am with a cis a cisgendered heterosexual man. Excuse my quotation marks. But um it is actually very refreshing to be with a man who actively encourages me on every level that the patriarchal black men would oppress me, um while also pushing me outside of my comfort zone and really encouraging me to step into my power as a black femme. So I will say Reggie really did they work.
Oh, it wasn't just me. It was so many people. Like that's the
And
thing.
I know.
And like
And
that's the thing about like the good black men is that
right.
there's often so much work that was involved behind the scenes and much more work that needed to have that than what needed to have been done. Like, you know, if niggas would just listen, that would have been a 5-minute conversation and Colin would have been fine.
But there's also the level of internal work that you have to do.
Right.
Because like even as a queer black femme, it's real easy to for it would be really easy for me to say that I've never had any like patriarchal thoughts. I've never had that type of mentality, and that would be false.
Right.
I've had to do a lot of unpacking.
It's like I believe that the patriarchal power structure that we have right now, every femme grows up to pick me until like they learn something better. That's just how we were taught. That's just how we were taught. The amount of times, like, you know, it's like I remember somebody like told me something that like stuck with me for life for the wrong reason. Because like for two reasons. Because it was like completely true. And the other reason was because it's completely fucked up. But she said, you know, you gotta date men like you do jobs. You have to stick with the shitty ones until you get a better man. And it's like, what? Like, that's like such a mentality of like, It is so wrong to not have a man in your life at all. You like we have been trained, especially as Black femmes, to like we need to be dependent on a man.
Right. And
Despite the fact that men, like when you look at like really who, like why that is, it's because men are dependent on us. It's like, do you know how many niggas can't cook? Was starved to death without a bitch in their house? So many. So
if
many.
if you are a man and you date femmes at the point of which y'all are inhabiting the same space, your life will instantly start to improve. I don't care
How many men learned about face towels?
how many men learned how to exfoliate.
How many men can spell exfoliate?
These niggas can't read.
No. They don't read. And let's bring this back to like this some recent events that really have gotten this conversation stirring. First,
J
this No
fucking
Name and J.
Cole.
Cole business. I'm so sick of the bullshit. For background, No Name is a Black woman. She is a rapper, an activist, a poet, a community organizer from Chicago. She's most famous for rapping, but that's because she is one of the greatest rappers of our generation.
She
Um,
does not have a bad verse in
she was
existence,
in
a bad
existence,
bar in existence.
right? And you low
She
key need a college
has,
education to understand what she's saying half the time.
right. And she also has a book club, which is important for the rest of this story. Continue.
Right. So she has a book club, but not just any a book club, a Black liberation book club. So that means she gathers a group of people across the country to read and discuss books on Black liberation practices. Now, when this Black Lives Matter wave hit, because I call it a wave, because the movement's been going on forever. Um, but it ebbs and flows in waves in popularity. So in this latest wave, um, No Name started calling out these conscious Black rappers that will write a song about something but wouldn't go to the protest, so wouldn't be like use their platform to provide information or donation links. They're just silent as fuck. So it's Black Lives Matter when it's time for a check, but not when it's time for Black Lives to matter. Um, and so she was calling people out, and J. Cole gets up and creates this entire song about how like it's great that like No Name's out here like doing the work, but she needs to be nicer to Black men and needs to like really like tone it down and like not be so angry and like really educate niggas. And like every Black femme in the world was like, but she has a book club where she does exactly that, and she's had this book club for a year now. So it's not, and it's not uncommon knowledge. J. Cole and No Name be in the same spaces, working around with the same artists. They know about each other at the very least. And on top of that, her book club was in KQED. Stop playing with me. Was on PBS. Like
Her
it was
book club is on Twitter, and you saw her tweet on Twitter, nigga.
like,
Um,
and so
and
like,
it's really just like it's not.
wait, you're muted. You muted
Shit,
yourself.
I sure did. Um, it is not Black femmes' responsibility to educate these niggas. Those of us who do it from a place of the knowledge that some of y'all are willing to learn and grow. Um,
Also the origin of the book club. I do believe it was because No Name was reading a lot of Black liberation and wanted um she got flamed for defending capitalism. Um she got flamed for defending capitalism, educated herself, and then provided a way to educate other people, which is Black women in a nutshell.
Exactly. And
But the gag is that like this book club was created and J. Cole's like educate, 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 and everybody's like, but she's educating, 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 and you just didn't sign up for the class. And this nigga's response was, well, I don't read. Like that's an excuse for like so because you don't read, No Name needs to go out and be nicer about how she's presenting information.
And the wild thing about that is audiobooks exist. There are YouTube videos on this. No
Park
Name
notes,
is
nigga.
actually a rapper. She makes music, and
And
a lot of what she
if
talks
you
about is
listen to all
also
of her
in.
songs, like she
I'm
talks
just
about
like the resources available are like infinite. There are so many resources. You don't even have to read all of them.
I
You
mean, it's
just
just like
don't want somebody to hold your hand.
yeah, and that's really what it is. That's really what it is. Black men do not respect black femmes outside a motherhood role. They want to be babied. They want their hand held. It's like J. Cole literally said, hold a nigga hand. And we just like, but you're not a child. It's like there's one thing to walk people through a situation and to help them out and to provide resources. It's another thing to provide those resources and then not take them, and then you're told, oh, but you needed to walk me through it. It's like, how am I gonna walk you through it when you didn't meet me nowhere? Um,
What they
so
really want is for you to halt your progress, to backtrack to them to help them get where you are.
mm,
They also really don't want to see you doing better than them at any point in time.
exact right. Wow, perfectly said. Perfectly said. Someone asked the question, how does Black patriarchy translate into the queer community? And oh my goodness, I have a perfect story about this.
Oh, let's
So,
hear.
it was my cousin's New Year's Eve party. And she's like the lit cousin. So like, I walk in and like I'm 18, walking in with my mama, and she like tries to hand me a glass of champagne. So like it was a lit party. Um, but like like this was like before gender I was a thing for me, or lack thereof, um, was a thing for me. So I was still identifying as a man, but I was out as queer. And so they had like separated. The men went upstairs and watched football. The women were in the kitchen preparing the food and drinking champagne, which first of all, they should like if I was gonna go upstairs and watch football, I should have had champagne. I don't care how old I was. Like it,
Period.
you should make me you should make me if you want to watch football, you need to let me drink. Um
Oh,
but
I have a question. I have an answer for that next question.
like it was this really weird situation of like I felt extremely safe around these men that I called family. We were having a great conversation, and then one of the men said, um, I fucks with Lamar Odom, but he's always on that faggot shit.
Mm,
And like that was the moment. It's like
mm.
being like being assigned male at birth, genderqueer, bisexual, like all of that thing. Like but all of it is like, unless like I'm like presenting really thin, which I tend not to do around family, because I'm not having that. Conversations like these are 10 times worse when you are related to a nigga.
I just
Because
want.
nobody is going like if you pop that nigga in the mouth, everybody's gonna be like, oh well, it's just a family fight. Like, at least if I'm arguing with a stranger, I know like there's something to keep me like jail time is keeping me from popping that nigga. Like,
Right.
so it's oftentimes more volatile for me. Um, so it's like being in situations where I don't present as femme or queer because of homophobia and patriarchy in my family, and then having to navigate the struggles that come with being femme and queer in patriarchy, but silently.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can't have a conversation with a group of 10 men about patriarchy as a black femme, um and like and there's a history of violent men in my family. Not a history. The
Right.
men in my family are violent. The men in
Right.
my family are violent. Um like
I think there is this, first of all, Black men are raised violent. Black men are taught that violence and anger are really the only ways they're supposed to express themselves unless they're playing a video game. Um, but a comment on the patriarchy and the queer community. Um, I'm gonna use gay men as my example here because
oh my god.
there is this utter disgust and like, oh my gosh, like vaginas are so disgusting. All of these things about women is disgusting. Um, as opposed to, that's just not what I'm just not attracted to that. Like gay men are the solid group of people who are just horrified at a lot of are horrified at a lot of things that are women while also specifically more femme gay men um and attempting to model that specifically black femininity. um
Right. And we
to
need
be
to have a conversation about the difference between white femininity and black femininity.
mm,
Because especially in the context of the United States, because of because of oppressive power structures, because of the removal of black men from the home and from family structures, because of drug use, incarceration, slavery, gangs, all of these things, black femininity, in my experience, has always been more more masculine than most other versions of femininity, and that creates a problem with um with me being a feminine individual that was assigned male at birth, which means I will never have full access to the femininity I have a right to claim.
right.
And I think that like that's something that's patriarchy in of itself. That like there is no way for specifically black trans people to have full access um, to both safety and the femininity that they deserve, and that they have a right
Right.
to claim and a right to emulate, not emulate, but a right to embody is the word I was looking for.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. And that exact same mindset is why I have been overly emasculated, if that's the word I'm looking for.
mhm.
There has been a level of masculinity imposed upon me because of my height. Height is seen as masculine.
Which why
Um, if if you are a tall femme and dark skinned, you are masculine. The darker you are, the more likely you are to be manly. I've had niggas call me trans. Like, not, oh, you're not non-binary trans, but oh, you used to be a man. Um, my titties wouldn't be saggy if I used to be a man. Um, that's from having them for forever, but um like there's a level of femininity denied to Black femmes, period.
Mm-hmm.
It's denied so much that even within, specifically within the Black femme community, it's like um actual conversation I've had. Uh some As a darker skinned femme who is constantly told you aren't feminine enough, it is hard to then give that femininity to someone else.
Right.
Um, like people, the way that you have been hurt, you continue to hurt others. Uh,
What did Colin say earlier?
diddle people, diddle people in the conversation, because you can't say that without context. So the conversation was about specifically these men who were 16, 17-year-old fucking their teachers, their therapists, women in their late 20s, 30s who were role model figures to them, even
Like,
who then grow up to be in their 20s, 30s dating high schoolers, or and supporting people who do, because it's
order
okay.
to, right. In order to
Minors
admit
are
that it was
free.
wrong, they had
And
to admit that they were assaulted. And
right.
admitting that they were assaulted means admitting that there was power taken away from them. And to
Mhm.
admit that would make them less of a man. I hate the patriarchy so much.
It really fucks over everybody.
Like imagine how much good could be done if men acknowledged their childhood traumas as traumas instead of trophies.
Mm.
Like it's so fucking, it's wild. It's wild. It's like somebody, like one of my good, like, those friends that's like, you know they they've been through a lot of things and they belong to the streets, but that's still your nigga. it's like it's like you've seen some things and you are a fucked up individual because of it, but you have a genuine heart and you're a good friend. But like, bro, like, those people who are like, you need some therapy, but I still love you. I got a friend like that. Uh, and like I distinctly remember homeboy like talking about like being like losing his virginity at like 8. And I was like, that's assault, bro. Like looking back on it, it's like, like if that was the start of it all, I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised if like he went to therapy and came to me today and was like, wow, like everything that has gone on in my life was because of that moment right there and not acknowledging that moment. And it's like, and it even boils down to the way we talk about sex specifically with Black boys. It's like, like a 3-year-old, like specifically with boys in general, but like, my experience with Black boys is that this is like, there's a specific brand of that's your little girlfriend, this 3-year-old. Like, there's this, like, there's this hypersexualization of boys in general, and then there's a hypersexualization of Black men.
Mm.
And when you combine those two, it becomes, by the time you're 8, like, it's not even so much of you rationalizing your trauma. You don't even recognize it as wrong then.
Right.
Like, because you've been told, oh, you're such a ladies' man, or you're such a player. Like, look at you with your cute little girlfriend. That like when somebody who's grown comes along, and these are grown, and the thing is, these are adults. Like, I remember I was 8 at a summer camp, and one of the counselors was calling me her little boyfriend. And it's like that little thing. It's like, and I don't know how old she was, like at least 18. at the very least 18, probably in her early 20s, late teens, early 20s. So like when you have like, and this is not uncommon. This is not uncommon for Black boys. Like, which is the, so you regularly have like these play girlfriends, like these older, like babysitters, older women who are like, oh, that's my little man, that's my little boyfriend. You know, we're going on a little date, and it's like not your mama or whatever. Which if your mama's calling you her little boyfriend, we need to talk. But like, you know, you have these older women treating young Black boys as tiny boyfriends, and then later down the line, it's no wonder that these Black men think it's okay to, like, for an 8-year-old to fuck an older person, because um all their life they've been told, you know, you're supposed to.
You know what's that's gross. That's
Gross.
disgusting. And you know what the gross counter of that is, a lot of those women are jealous of their daughters and other little girls. I like, as you were talking about being 8 and the counselor calling you her little boyfriend, it reminded me of my little sister being 8 and these grown women saying how they wish they had her body.
And that's disgusting. That's disgusting. Like, I like the way that like we sexualize children is wild. Like, I wish I had the body of a 12-year-old girl. No. I don't know about you. I've looked young all my life. I've looked younger than I am all my life. It's not cute. I got carded. I I occasionally still get carded for rated R movies. That means somebody at the movie theater occasionally thinks I am under the age of 17. And you want that for yourself?
Oh.
You know how many times I've walked into a bar and somebody's like, this is a fake ID, and I'm like, scan it then, bitch.
And I'm really just like, wow, no fucking wonder these are the same people who are like, I couldn't tell she was 16. That
Like,
15-year-old looked grown.
right, because we're calling 15 and 16-year-olds grown. To be honest. Like, and it's like, it's interesting because like, I don't know about you, but like, I used to think that teenagers and adults looked the same until I became an adult.
Right.
And then I realized, no, it is actually incredibly easy. It gets to a point where I mistake adults as teenagers.
You
I don't
know?
do the other way around. I will always round down. I do not round up. Because why would you even like, first of all, just like, why would you assume somebody's age is? And like,
That reminds me, I saw last like
I've seen some
this was
12-year-olds
back
that look
in like
40.
September. It's about to be 3 o'clock. It is 3 o'clock.
Oh shit.
Back in like September, I saw this girl, this lady, uh, or femme, I guess I should say. Yes, I saw this femme, and this person was either 16 or 24. I was like, huh, I'm gonna get my coffee and go home like I was
I think it
planning
might be at 4. Hold
because
on.
I'm grown. And if I'm not sure if this nigga is 16 or 24, I should take my ass home. Like I'm grown.
Right. It's just it's like, even, and it's also just like, and even if you like, when you know that they 16, I don't know about you, teenagers are motherfucking annoying. Like, and not like in a, like, I work with kids. I work with teenagers. Like, not in a way of like, oh, working with kids and teenagers are annoying, but like
I can tell
being
you
around
a teenager.
like a 20, like, I don't know, but like, I hate being around underage people when I'm trying to do some grown ass shit.
Mm.
Like, like, you know, I'll be at a party and like there might be a couple people that are underage and I bring out a bottle and they like swarm me like, can I get a drink? Can I get a drink? Well, now I'm going home. Like, it's just like, I don't understand how anybody would want to do grown shit with a teenager. They don't know how to be grown. Like,
and how can you not tell that that's a teenager trying to be grown when teenagers don't know how to be grown? It is very obvious that they
it's
are.
very motherfucking obvious. Like, it's just like, first of all, I can tell a teenager by the way they roll a blunt. So it's just like, so you're not even going to get past the first 5 minutes of meeting me. I know a teenager by the way they smoke blunts. Um, so like, you're not gonna get past a 5 minute meeting with me, like casual meeting with me, and me be like, oh, you're grown. Like, just the way that they move, it's everything. Like, they're scared. Teenagers are scared, and
Teenagers
you can tell.
don't know the world like that because they don't know the world like that. Um, and like, I guess what a lot of these niggas' excuses nowadays is about the internet and makeup. They can make it seem like it. And
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. First of all, on the internet, I'm not fucking around with anybody who doesn't look at least 35. I don't care how
no,
old
I
you are.
mean, but like kids can go on the internet and learn uh supposedly, you know, you can go on the research, you can go on the internet and learn things, right? You can do your makeup to look grown. You can then go out into the world and move
No,
around like
okay. First of all, like,
pose.
there's so much that's like,
And
there is so much like that I have to say about specifically this whole makeup and being grown. It is not, it is not that these little girls are grown because they're wearing makeup. It is, you are sexualizing makeup. And because they are wearing makeup, you need to rationalize your sexualization of them by saying they must be grown.
exactly, because
Because
you
I
can
can
say
tell
things
you,
that
I
make
can tell
them
you,
look
I
much.
know a toddler in a tiara. You can't put makeup on a 5-year-old, on a 12-year-old, on a 14-year-old, and then be like, oh, that's an adult. No. Like, that's dumb. Somebody asked the question, how does white supremacy and white feminism inform Black patriarchy? I think we touched on it briefly earlier, but white supremacy puts the power structures in place for Black patriarchy to replicate. So what you end up having is white feminism has the same problem as Black patriarchy, which is, it is not necessarily like Black patriarchy is employed in this like, Black men are fighting for everybody's rights. So like, are fighting for their rights. Everybody should fight for their rights. Yada yada yada. It's like wild. But white feminism and Black patriarchy and activist spaces function the same way. It's not that niggas are trying to get equality. It's that niggas are trying to be the same as white men. Like, white men set the standard of what power looks like. So like, especially in this country, um, so white supremacy and putting white men, like, the actions of white men are the blueprint. Um,
Oh yes, I purposefully muted because I was trying to figure out how much Hennessy was in this bottle when we started this Zoom. This is how much is in it now. Um,
oh,
it's fine. I
yeah,
haven't
you're
drank
fine.
because I'm definitely not drunk. So I was like, my tolerance for alcohol can't be that high.
I went through a whole handle of Malibu over the course of this quarantine, and a whole bottle of Hennessy.
There's been, I took out my recycling the other day. It was literally, it was mostly alcohol and mixers because when I buy juice, it's to mix with my alcohol. Reggie, it is 3:06.
Oh yeah, I realized that I don't have that thing until 4, so I got a little bit more time.
Oh, lit.
Answer some of the questions that have been asked. Um,
Yes.
one of the other questions was,
How do femmes perpetrate patriarchy? Which
um,
was similar to one of the questions we were talking about earlier, which
yeah,
was how have we internalized or had to overcome where we internalized patriarchy?
yeah. I think what it is that like, um, femmes perpetuate patriarchy sim- by reinforcing its necessity. Like, and like it's I don't want to say like it's perpetuating patriarchy for a femme to rely on a man because that's survival. Um, but like it's one thing to rely on the patriarchy for survival because that's what exists and that's the systems we have to exist in. It's like relying on capitalism for survival. Um,
You kind of have to.
right, you kind of have to, but it's another thing to rely on it for survival and then not acknowledge that it is also the reason that you it is also the thing that you are surviving. It's like you like it's like it's one thing to say I need a man to pay all my bills. It's another thing to say we need a man to pay all our bills. Um, it's like the reason we need men to pay all our bills is because men won't give us jobs because
Right.
men won't pay us at the same rates. It's like even just like as a queer person, a queer and trans person, like I was working at a Black nonprofit, um, and I was get the person who had my job before me, the education director, a cis heterosexual Black man, was getting paid over $20 an hour. I got the job when he got fired, and I was getting paid 18, and I was doing another job on top of it. Um,
Wow.
I leave, and my replacement, a Black woman, was getting paid 18 an hour, but wasn't being given full-time hours for a full-time job.
Wow.
Right. So that's the ways in which, like, that's the ways we have to, that's the reasons why we have to rely on men or capitalism or things like that. Because when we do get jobs, when we do enter these spaces, we're not getting paid at the same rates. We're not getting paid um, for the same amount of hours, despite the fact that I'm going to be honest, I was low key slacking on my job compared to her. I was doing my job, making sure things got done. But like, she was better at the paperwork side of my job than I was and was more consistent with that. Um, and also had more experience just managing things. Like when I was doing the job, I was like 20, 21. If that, no, I was 20. So like, and she was in her 30s. So like she was more qualified. And was getting paid less. And she didn't even know that was the gag. We were talking one day and she was complaining that she wasn't getting enough hours. And I was like, what do you mean you're not getting enough hours? You're a director. And she was like, yeah, but I'm only getting paid for my office day and the hours that I canvas. And I'm like, but you're doing an 8 hours a
Oh,
day because you're doing stuff
whoa.
like, so yeah,
Oh,
it was
so
wild.
I
So
was
like
thinking
she
she
didn't
was
know
doing
until I told her that I was getting
did
full-time
not
hours.
think, oh my God. Oh my soul was just literally not getting paid for the work that she was doing.
Right. So it wasn't that she wasn't doing like 8 hours
Wow.
worth of work and so she wasn't getting paid. It was that like, so as a director, on days you were canvassing, you had 6.5 hours of canvassing, and then you had 2 hours of paperwork to do at the end of every day, regardless of whether or not you were canvassing. And so on days she was canvassing, she was only getting paid for that 6 hours and not the extra 2 or hour and a half for the paperwork afterwards. Paperwork that was required to be done. So it was like submitting the numbers for everybody and making sure everything was etched in payroll and making sure everything, all of the records and fundraising and budget was like done. So like she was doing the hour and a half of work and not getting paid for it. And it was framed in such a way where she didn't know that that wasn't okay until somebody who had the job, and I wasn't getting paid right for the job. To be honest, I was working two positions and getting paid 18 an hour, where everybody else in administration was getting paid at least 20. Um, so like I wasn't getting paid right, and I had to go up and tell her she wasn't getting paid right. And nobody like would have said anything. Nobody would have said anything or had been looking out for her had we not had that conversation off chance.
I think that's the part that we really need to look at, because it's fucked up that this happened in administration, but there's a whole fucked up corporate mindsets and shit within nonprofits and the whole way we play Black femmes corporately on a mass level. But the fact that nobody who saw that happening said shit, the fact that nobody who sees women on the street being harassed and attacked say shit, that
Specifically
turned
black,
into the biggest evil.
and
One of my
specifically
favorite
black
quotes.
femmes, because like I'm like really tired of
Girl,
this shit. I need one more man to say black girl magic. I need one more black man to say black girl magic before I hit him in his fucking jaw. Because the amount of times I have been the only male presenting person that speaks up, and there are a group of niggas that are stronger and more vocal than I am, like, you know, we'll be like queen this, queen that until it's time to defend the queen. And then all of a sudden it's like, I don't give a fuck about these bad bitches.
you know what? I'm so glad you said that. Because my favorite quote, I can't remember what nigga said it, but it's on the movie Boondock Saints. Uh, the greatest evil is not the evil acts, it's not the acts of evil men, it is the indifference of otherwise good men.
Yes, exactly. It's
Like
like
these are
MLK said,
upstanding
instead of,
people. They don't they if they held the if they held their friends to the standards that they hold themselves to,
mm-hmm. It's
it would
one,
be a whole different game.
and like my whole thing is, it's one thing to watch to make someone you hate suffer. It takes an entirely different level of apathy to watch someone you claim to love and protect suffer willingly, willingly, with the power to do something about it. And that is my biggest disappointment with black men, is that they are so down to protect me until it's time to protect me. Then all of a sudden, I have to be glad I know how to fight. Like the amount of times, like even just in general, the amount of times black men have allowed me to fight cis black men without stepping in or fighting them for me is wild. Is wild. The amount, like even fights that I want to get into, people are not like, you know, you're a black trans femme, let me handle this for you. Don't fuck up your makeup, boo boo. Let me handle this for you. Like nobody pulls that. Nobody pulls that. But like as soon as it's a bunch of niggas, it's like, oh, homie, handle my lightweight. I got you, dog. Bitch. It's like honestly, like y'all gonna hate me for saying this, and I don't care. But the patriarchy made all of you gay. You will ride, protect, and love your homies more than you will love the women you want to fuck. Like,
I just
the
want to
patriarchy has created a homoerotic relationship between black men. Let's
they
talk
play these
about it.
games for these niggas.
Yes, I have never seen. I have
They
never
fun with
seen.
they niggas. All of their favorite pastimes are with they niggas. They might as well be sucking they niggas dick.
Some of them do.
And there's nothing wrong with it. and they'll
Nothing wrong
probably
with it.
have way
No,
more
no,
fun.
there is something wrong with it. The fact that we're calling it bro jobs. That's not your
Ooh.
friend. Y'all are boyfriends.
That's your best friend, but sometimes y'all suck each other dick. Y'all just
That sounds
friends.
like a boyfriend to me. But yeah, but in all seriousness, like the patriarchy has created a homoerotic relationship with between black men, and a relationship devoid
You know
of genuine love, care, affection, and protection for black men.
that homoerotic relationship has developed due to a lack of actual intimacy in those relationships. Like they get black men get all of their intimacy from their mothers, their sisters, and their partners.
Right.
Um, the women in their family or in their circle. Their friends are the majority of their friends are male, and they're not allowed to hug or touch unless it's a bro job occasionally.
I think like even just talking about that, I think one of my fondest
But
moments with my friends is being drunk as fucking Santa Cruz, sitting on the balcony outside of our hotel room. It's me, Jamie, and my brother, and we are like all like sitting in each other's laps and playing with each other's hair. Like, granted, two of us are definitely queer, and the other one is Colin, but like at the time, I was the only queer person out, like not even out, definitely queer person. Um, and it was just like this moment of like, why is this not normal? Like, what about this? Like, nothing about this said we wanted to fuck.
right.
Nothing about it was erotic. Nothing about it was romantic, but it was intimate. And I think like part of the problem is that like you see intimate male relationships in children up until the age about 7 or 8, and then all of a sudden it's that gay shit. But like they're 7 and 8. They're not even on the straight shit yet. Like if we stop sexualizing 8-year-olds and 8-year-old relationships and 8-year-old friendships, like men will be able to form more intimate relationships with other men.
Wow. So you mean this all boils back down to, can we stop sexualizing children? Can we stop making that thing seem normal? That like
Mm-hmm. I mean, just like legitimately, like if we let children be children, there would be a lot less issues. Like if we let children be children, if we let people stay children, almost like there needs to be this childhood openness
oh
that
my
we all
god.
get closed off to. Like from the age of 8, like I distinctly remember the moment it was not okay to hug another man, and that was the moment in 3rd grade where everyone learned the word gay.
Mm.
And I remember um that was the moment where like male intimacy was not okay, where having like, and so like intimacy in any of my close relationships. The majority of my close friendships in life, all actually my closest friendships in life have always been with femmes, because it is easier to have those emotional and intimate moments without worrying about them, without worrying about it being, without
Sexual.
it being sexualized. Like I don't have to worry like that my best friend is trying to fuck me.
Oh, you know,
And I'm not like it, and especially like um some said, Prophet asked, what are 5 things that will get us closer to a future without patriarchy? First, an admittance of guilt. Men need all men need to first take responsibility for the patriarchy, um, and for patriarchal power structures. Second, um, femmes need to admit our role in perpetuating the patriarchy, but not before the men. Not before the men. Because I think it's really important, especially as femme people, where a lot of the ways that we perpetuate patriarchy is coming from trauma, that we need to admit that we are perpetuating patriarchy, the ways in which we perpetuate patriarchy, the ways in which those stem from trauma, and then we need to start working on dismantling those within ourselves. Like the amount of people are like, oh, that ask the amount of other femmes that ask femmes, oh, when are you getting married? Or, like, when are you gonna get a man? Or where your man at? Like, or like the amount that we compete over men, of all things to compete over. And it's never even the good ones. Like, why are we competing over shitty men like they are not in abundance?
Right.
Like,
period. But and also like the amount that we compete over each other in general. Like, as a woman, but also as a Black woman growing up, I was taught, I have to watch my friends. Not only was I told this by the older women in my life, I experienced it directly, where my longest relationship with this was high school, from 8th grade to 21-ish. My best friend was also my biggest hater, and was the only person around me who had a problem when I was happy. This is something that repeated enough that it has been a struggle for me to have a close bond with I can't tell you the last. I actually can tell you the last woman identifying friend I had who I was genuinely close to. And this isn't to say that I'm no longer friends with anyone who I met prior to this, but it was another person who basically threw away our friendship over her boyfriend. She had a fight with her boyfriend over some bullshit, and they came back inside on my birthday after fighting for 5 hours. And I'm like, are you mad at us? I'm like, well, yeah. And this turned into a huge fight. And it's my fault.
Because you're mad at them for having a huge fight on your birthday and just not going to the home.
And not only is that my fault, but all of her anger from their issues never getting settled is poured out on me, because you're just a friend. This is my man. I can't lose this.
Right, which is wild. Like,
gosh, the amount of times women and femmes have picked a nigga.
But you know, like, it's weird.
Over my friendship.
Do you know it's wild though? Like, that's not what men do. Like, bro code is bros before hoes. Like, like that's the thing. Like, the men that you are dropping your friends for will drop you for their friends.
Will drop you for your friends, for their friends, and then potentially be like, hey, dude, I bet you could fuck her. Depending on the nigga.
Prophet said the Molly to yo Issa. Damn. Molly was low-key a hater. But yeah, I think like after like we are all acknowledging our roles in patriarchy, I think it starts with there needs to be there needs to be a rearrangement of the roles within our community. Um, like it I said it last week. It's the most frustrating thing about patriarchy is that like outwardly like the roles under patriarchy for men and women like and for men and femmes really are men like protectors and providers and caretaker and like um like providing the roof, like providing the resources, and then the femmes use those resources um to care for the community. So the men protect and protect the community and get the resources, and the women use the resources to build the community. And it's like I don't know. It's like there's like this social contract in patriarchy that has been broken. That's like it's like we're continually like looking for the resources that we can use to build the community, but black men are not providing those resources, nor are they protecting. They're doing the exact opposite, taking the resources and then killing us. Like it's wild when you see
Whoa.
situations like Toy and Salau, where like it's ridiculous, like how black men have reduced the Black Lives Matter movement to just being about them, and black women and femmes are using the Black Lives Matter movement to talk just about black men. And then these black men that are attending these rallies and listening to what black women are saying and listening to black femmes and like know what's going on, then go around and assault and murder not just a black woman, but a black woman who's at the center of fighting for their lives. It's like y'all don't want to live.
Can we
Almost.
talk about the fact that she was killed directly after tweeting about how a black man sexually assaulted her?
And like she was killed after telling the man who killed her, like he was asking, "Oh, are you okay? What's going on?" And she told him, "I was assaulted. I am trying to figure out a place to stay and a place to like be safe right now." And he offered help and then turned around and did that. Like it's just like I'm not surprised, but at this point like it's almost just like I hate to say it, it's almost like black men do not want to survive because like y'all are so intent on killing black femmes that you are killing the people, the only people other than yourselves that are fighting for you.
And can we talk about how a lot of them are not actually fighting for them? They're too busy fighting with us while we're fighting for them.
Mm-hmm.
And then wondering why
Everything they touch
they
crumbles.
stop fighting for them.
It's like it's honestly like, look, this world has both masculine and feminine energy. And as long as that energy is imbalanced within our community and that relationship is imbalanced, everything you touch is going to crumble. Everything you touch is going to crumble. You cannot base your liberation movement you cannot base your movement on liberation while actively oppressing somebody else. It's not going to work. It's not going to work.
Right.
It's not going to work. It's not going to work. I don't know why you thought it was going to work,
No.
because you can't liberate yourself by oppressing somebody else. You're not liberating yourself. You are just elevating yourself within an oppressive power structure. That's not liberation. That's just acquisition of power. And like that's something that black men need to understand, is that by not protecting black women, black femmes, you are dooming only yourself. Because black women and femmes have the tools to survive. You don't. We have the tools to create and maintain the movement. You don't.
I feel like the one of the major roots of patriarchy, especially within the individual black men, is the imbalance of masculine and feminine energy within themselves, because we all have that.
Mm-hmm.
And as a person, that needs to be balanced regardless of your sexual identity, gender identity. Um, and if all you're focusing on is the masculinity because anything else is that gay shit, that is where it becomes toxic. That is where you now have to overpower something, because if you don't, the femininity will overpower you. Um,
Right. And I think that's a great place to kind of like wrap up, because I that's like a genuine action step, which is like Black men need to make peace with femininity, both inside themselves and in the community at large. They need to make peace with the fact that it exists, the fact that it is valid, the fact that it is no less or more important than the masculinity that they have upheld, and that it is important that they work with femininity and feminine individuals and not against us. Otherwise, you won't have the range. You just will not have, you will not have the range of emotions and skills um, necessary and only in order to build a successful movement without masculine and feminine energy. If we're talking like in the like concept of binaries,
when I say masculine and feminine, I do not, it is not
like man or woman,
binary.
it's like
It
a
is an extreme point to an extreme point, and there's the whole fluctuation between it. There is the encompassment of all of it and beyond. I use words without explaining what they mean,
right.
too
It's also just like
frequently.
I think we as humans are still, at least like speaking as a trans individual, like that we're still like forming the language. So much of like trans history has been destroyed and intentionally forgotten. Um, so much of trans history, specifically within Black communities, has been destroyed, forgotten, and intentionally ignored. So we're still forming the language to describe our identities and the way the world works. I don't think it fluctuates on purely masculine and feminine energy, but both need to be present in a space in order for it to be like in a movement, in order for it to be you you need to have like a true, in order to liberate Black people, you need to have a movement that reflects the reality of the Black community, and that is the fact that everyone exists on a spectrum of, not a spectrum, like on this almost color wheel, and like you need to have all of the colors in order to make the painting. We can't we can't paint ourselves into a better future using only the color red.
Right.
You got to have the other colors involved, um, and we have to have the other individuals and the other identities and the other experiences, and they need to be elevated and they need to be equal and they need to be talked about equally, because there is no Black liberation without Black trans liberation. Because yes, their Blackness might be liberated, but if they're still dying because they're trans, um, they are there's still a Black person dying. And I think that that's what we need to focus on, is not necessarily, Black men are dying, but Black people are dying.
And additionally, addressing specifically the ways that Black femmes are dying and
Mm-hmm.
the role that Black men play in that.
Right. So that brings us, speaking of Black men and their roles and playing in this conversation, um, that brings us to our next episode. Next week, We will be having a Q&A session featuring our Black men, um, Colin and Prophet, um, because I'm tired of doing the emotional labor of answering like questions that need to be answered. Um, but like, I don't feel like having to explain my existence or my I don't know, right to live every day. Um, so we will be having people who are qualified enough to say it. And also like it's important that Black men do speak to each other um about this situation. I know for a fact some of y'all tuned me out. Some of y'all tuned Shar out as soon as we started speaking. But get some like masculine individuals, some masculine men, cis men here, and you might listen. So if you have there is an open mic tonight as well. We'll get to that later. But if you have any questions that you would like to ask, any questions you have about patriarchy, Black patriarchy, sexism, homophobia within the Black community, um, shoot us a PM, a DM us, put your question in the comment section. We'll be going through those, collecting the questions. And then next week, we will be having Colin and Prophet answer those questions and provide some text from their lives as well. We also have an open mic tonight um, at 8:15 p.m. PST, Pacific Standard Time. For those of us who don't know, for those of us who know that time is an illusion. Um, but yeah, definitely feel free to join us. If you'd like to join us, you can find out more information by visiting our Instagram page, instagram.com/rich oak alchemy. It, there we have more information about how you can sign up. We will also be streaming it on Instagram Live. So if you can't sign up and just want to watch, we will be going live at 8:15 p.m. So you PST. So you should help us out. But you should definitely sign up. We will try to put the sign up link in the comment section of this post, so you can always do that. But thank you so much to everyone who watched. Thank you to Chardonay for having this conversation. Um, yeah, thank you, Mom, for being my mom. But we will see all of you next week for part 2 of our Black patriarchy conversation. Peace.